Good morning, everyone. On behalf of ICAI, I welcome you all to this webinar on unlocking professional opportunities for ICAI members in government sector that is being organized by the Committee on Public and Government Financial Management. I am pleased to welcome our esteemed chairperson and vice chairperson of CPGFM, CA Mangesh Panduran Kenre and CA Pankaj Shah. I also welcome our distinguished speaker, CA Jayant Gokhale, past Central Council member of ICAI, who is having vast knowledge and experience on the subject matter. Something more to say in brief about CA Jayant Gokhale. He is presently an independent director in PTC India Limited, PFS Limited, SBI DFHI Limited, and is chairman of Audit Committee and L&T Mutual Fund Trustee Company Limited. He is also a member of the committee of RBI for merger oblique amalgamation of cooperative banks, urban cooperative banks, IRDAI, and of Accounting Standards Board of ICAI to lay down roadmap for convergence of Indian accounting standards with IFRS. He has been appointed by Government of India as member of different committees like Ministry of Urban Development, Ministry of Finance and SEBI, and has been a faculty for C&AG's Indian Audit and Accounts Service Academy at Shimla and Mumbai, and many more committees. He is also a visiting faculty for courses conducted by IIM Bengaluru for training of knowledge of updation of Government of India revenue intelligence officials. About the theme, I should say, as the need for transparency, financial discipline, and effective governance continues to grow, the role of chartered accountants in government and public sector has become increasingly significant. This webinar is designed to create awareness among ICAI members about the diverse and impactful career avenues available in this space. With their expertise in areas like auditing, budgeting, financial reporting, and policy advisory, CAs are well positioned to take on key roles in government departments, public sector undertakings, and regulatory bodies. This webinar aims to highlight these opportunities, the skills required to excel in them, and the various ways ICAI supports its members in this journey. We hope today's session will inspire you to explore this meaningful path where professional excellence meets public service. Thank you. I would request Mangesh sir to say a few words, sir.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm CA Mangesh Kinde, Chairperson of Committee for Public and Government Financial Management. As a chairperson of this committee, I'm very pleased to have this organizing this program for the benefit of member. And I extend very warm welcome to all the viewers of the webinar and on this webinar. And in particular, CA Jayant Gokhale sir, who is a former Central Council member and will be taking us through the various opportunities which chartered accountants can explore in the government sector. Arunji has already introduced Gokhale sir, but I think his introduction was very brief. He's a pioneer in many of the aspects of the institute. And personally, to me also, has been kind of a role model as far as a council member is concerned. And he has been doing this work in the government sector, as has been read out in the profile also. And therefore, he's the right person to take us through these opportunities. Friends, on this occasion, I would like to just briefly introduce you about this committee so that if at all any members would like to participate in this activities of this committee, they are most welcome. This committee, as the name suggests, Committee for Public and Government Financial Management. One would wonder that what we are as a Chartered Accountant Institute has to do with public finance and government finance or financial management of these entities. But friends, we being a pioneer or we being the key persons in accounting and auditing field, it is our endeavor as a partners in nation building that the government accounts or the entire country's accounts, right, should be properly maintained and in a structured manner so that the proper disclosures are there for the stakeholders at large, because country accounts of the countries are also important from the perspective of the citizens of this country. From this point of view, this committee has been formed wherever it is possible that we can give the support to the government for a proper financial management of the public funds or the government funds. By virtue of that, we are doing a lot of activities and initiatives. As our forte goes in accounting, we have been advising, or we have been discussing with the government and giving them a lot of suggestions on the accounting standards for local body. We are actually giving regular inputs to the Government Accounting Standards Advisory Board, GASAP, in India and internationally also in the International Public Sector Accounting Standards, IPSAS board. So this is a very technical aspect, and perhaps recently I attended the meeting, and the accounts of the government are not necessarily kept as per the proper accounting principle which we follow in the corporate accounts or the financial accounts of the corporate bodies, and therefore it's a completely niche area. And perhaps there is a great opportunities for chartered accountants in that also. Once this government starts maintaining these accounts on a proper accrual basis or as per the international standards. We also run the certificate course on public finance and government accounting for the ICAI members. And interestingly, some government officials are also attending these courses. We are providing technical support for the certificate courses of panchayats and municipal bodies. You may be knowing that this committee or ICAI, along with CNAG, have launched this course, a certificate course for panchayat accountants. So what we do is we do conduct a training programs and conduct the examinations also for the people who would like to take up these panchayat accountants. This is a great employment generation opportunity in the rural areas, which is being supported by ICAI. We have been doing a lot of capacity building programs and training in the government departments, different government departments, urban local bodies, say government treasury departments, and various other government departments, wherein we would like to strengthen their accounting and budgeting and financial management system. A lot of research projects are also undertaken. Why I'm highlighting, as I mentioned, if any members are interested in this, we would definitely love to have them with us. In fact, this committee last year started one award for promotion of accounting reforms in local bodies. So this is again something which has been appreciated by the government to a great extent. We have been also formulating the accounting standards for local bodies based on the international benchmark accounting standards for local bodies. Number of standards, I mean, to be precise, 31 standards have been issued. 2 standards have been made mandatory in April 22. I'm very happy to state that the state of Uttarakhand has been the first one to revise its municipal accounts as per these accounting standards. We have been trying to meet a lot of governments, a lot of departments, even if you can suggest you can use your good offices so that we can meet the different governments and impress upon them to have a proper accounting system in force. As far as opportunity is concerned, of course, Gokhale sir also will highlight about it. But once the statement of account or the accounts are properly maintained by the government and public public institutions, then perhaps there is a scope not only maintenance, assisting in maintenance of the account, but also some audit procedures can be introduced and impressed upon the respective stakeholders. So recently, we have been trained. We had signed a MOU with CAG for training their officers also. We have been meeting a lot of recent meetings we had with Odisha government, then Tamil Nadu government regarding training their officials also. As Arunji has also mentioned, I would not take much time because Gokhale sir will be taking us through. And I mentioned during the activities also that the intention, of course, is to have a strengthening of the government and public financial management system so that somewhere the chartered accountants need or chartered accountants opportunities can be explored in these areas. Not only with that respect, but at the same time, when we impress upon the good accounting system, and then naturally the requirement of chartered accountants will be more in this area also. There is another objective of having this program. Recently, we had a meeting with Asian Development Bank as well as World Bank officials, wherein they hire chartered accountants for an audit of externally aided projects. Wherever they are aiding the projects, say for example, some Krishna Kore Vikas Mandal in Maharashtra, these are the projects which are aided by Asian Development Banks as well as World Bank. A lot of opportunities are there, but at the same time, the delivery of the chartered accountants, as far as quality is concerned, is something which is, I mean, I'm not saying complaints, but some suggestions or some kind of a more improvement is needed as per the inputs which we have received. I think this kind of a programs will not only highlight what are the opportunities, but seeing at Gokhale also, we will be at least have that encouragement of having a quality a delivery of quality in the audit, and that also perhaps he will highlight, which of course this is a main objective of this program. So with this, I welcome you all, and I think both these objectives, not only exploring and introducing the opportunities, but also how to conduct this work effectively, rather than simply doing it, because as I mentioned, this is something, some kind of a specialization is there in this, as Gokhale sir will highlight. Their accounting, their record keeping is completely different from the corporate entities, and therefore this certificate course of this committee also is important, and having an understanding from the seniors about the what you can say, the niceties of this work is also important. So from that perspective, this program has been organized. I'm pretty sure it will be helpful to members. And again, I welcome you all and invite you for any inputs or any involvement in the activities of this committee, whoever is interested. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Gokhale sir. Over to you. I think, sir, just a minute. Pankaj ji has joined. Our vice chairman is also supposed to join. Perhaps he may join later towards the end. So I think over to Gokhale sir. You can take it forward. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman. And I'll just put on my PowerPoint PPT so that the title comes on, and then start speaking so that I'm not interrupted in between. Yeah. So I think I suppose I'm visible properly. PPT is also visible.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So, good morning to everyone, and very warm welcome, and thank you, Chairman, for giving me this opportunity. A very good morning to Seema ji, and I think Nisha ji is there, if I understand correctly. I'm particularly mentioning them, and of course, Arun Gupta ji, who is the moderator for the session. I'm mentioning the staff in particular because I have seen this committee grow from its inception. I had the good fortune to be, I think I was chairman in its initial year, and I was associated with it where we started very fledgling activities in this area.
Yes, sir. You were the chairman earlier.
Sorry?
You were the chairman earlier in the
Yes.
past, and that is one much more proud moment for me also. I'm
Yes.
chairing the committee which you chaired.
No, but more than what I played, I'm glad to see the huge development that has taken place in the role that this committee is playing, the importance that this committee had got. At that time, when we started this area, everybody, including perhaps myself, was wondering whether we will be able to make an impact. But I can tell you that the impact, and especially to the participants, let me mention that, like in stock market, we always see the future rather than the present. I think when one looks at the future, this is the area where there is immense potential, which we have perhaps not yet understood and appreciated. You are attending this program today, so I think you are already somewhat convinced that yes, this is the appropriate thing. But we need to be aware of what the trends are, and therefore I must congratulate the committee, congratulate the current chairman for having made this outreach, because very often what happens is that we go into everybody rushes in when they start practice. The chartered accountants in their neighborhood, in their contact, etc., are all engaged in either income tax or GST practice, and we therefore feel that is the only area that one needs to focus on. While there is nothing wrong with that, this area, and where I believe that unlocking professional opportunities in government sector is a very big area, it is yet largely untapped. So it is, like some of the big, I wouldn't want to name some of the big industrial houses, they enter the scene in areas which are not yet actually very active and get the advantage of a first starters advantage, as they call it. So whether it is telecom, whether it is in ports and so on, I don't need to name the entities, but those who enter that sector early have an advantage. I can share very honestly that I entered this sector early, and I can uh, say that I have had uh, good returns on this sector. So that I can speak from personal experience and say that yes, this is something that you can also look forward to. The initial stage is still not gone by, so you are not late. So don't worry. So let's look at uh, what I'll try to do. My last slide, which I'm going to touch upon, is going to be the most important according to me. And therefore, what we will try to do is to see that I will leave some time for the last slide because it is more of some abilities that one needs to develop. And that is where I will try to focus. The earlier slides are all in regard to the factual knowledge, and then we come to certain soft skills, which I will speak about at the end. So, when I'm structuring this, let's first start off by when we say government sector and when we speak of opportunities. First and foremost, why should we be looking? There are hundreds and rather millions of businesses which are there, large companies, listed companies, SMEs, MSMEs. Why is it that one should look at this area? Merely because the institute has said that, we are partners in nation building. Do we expect members to actually get into this sort of a thing in that sense? So my own response would be that actually uh, we are in the job of providing services for a profession. We are making a living out of this. So while national interest undoubtedly has some merit and has some importance, each of you will be keen to know that what do you get out of it while doing national service, no doubt. But are you going to get something, or is it just a uh, honorary national service that you are going to render? So let me tell you, there can be good earnings. There are certain firms which are doing very well in this area, and there are people like you who have perhaps not embarked on this journey so far, but who can do excellently because the competition in this segment is less, the awareness about it is less. So, first, let's start because I presume that not everybody is fully aware of what we are talking of. So, let's speak about what is public finance and government financial management. What exactly are we meaning by that? Chairman has briefly outlined that when we are talking of public finance, and we'll come to the accountability part, the need for information, the need for transparency, and so on, we'll come to that. But all of you will agree that the expenditures by the government are humongous, they are huge. And therefore, the amount, and as they say, there is a quotation where there is a will. When I say will, not the traditional meaning of will, it is jokingly said in our circles that where there is a will, there will be a lawyer. तो और इफ आई से इन हिंदी जहाँ शक्कर होती है तो चीटी जरूर होती है, तो फिनेंस होता है तो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट जरूर होंगे. The reason being that our skills are very specialized, and whether it is government, private sector, public sector, etc., the excellent knowledge that we develop in our CA syllabus is extremely important in order to translate that knowledge into a meaningful output. So it is one thing to have information, and it's a totally different thing to translate that into meaningful and useful output. And that is where we can play a significant role. Now, let me come to the other part and why this sort of a program and why the work of this committee is so important. I'm perhaps a little bit outdated, but in the syllabus that we had earlier, I believe now some steps are being taken to rectify this situation. But in the earlier syllabus, there was very little about public finance. There was virtually nothing about local body accounting and government accounting in our CA syllabus. So we don't really know. Of course, our fundamentals are there. Knowledge about accounting is there. Knowledge about presentation of financial statements are there. But specifically, what happens is when we go to some government entity, often the officers also are very important, and they want to know that what specific things have you learned. And in that sense, the course that this committee organizes is a very important course. Chairman made a reference to the Uttarakhand government, where we are doing a lot of work and they have adopted accounting standards. Let me tell you, I happened to be there for doing some training on behalf of the ICAI, and I was pleasantly surprised that the two main consultants to that project, who were being paid a reasonably good amount, were both persons who had attended the course conducted by ICAI, the certificate course which is conducted by the same committee. I am sure Mangesh ji can take a note of that and recognize that our own people trained by us are now heading those projects on behalf of the government as consultants. So it shows, and they are doing extremely well, I must say, both in terms of performance and in terms of personal earning. Both ways they are doing well. So when we are looking at that, we are looking at government accounting, and I'll come to the detailing of that. But government implies all arms of the government that we understand, including ministries, including PSUs, etc. We'll come to that. And we will also see what are the opportunities that are available in the government sector. So let's look at what is the government sector first, so that you know what we are talking of. First and foremost, obviously, the Union of India or the central government. We are also talking of state government. We are talking of municipalities, panchayats. There is a law which says, and then each state, because under the constitution, municipalities and panchayats come under state jurisdiction. So there are state laws, but there is a broad constitutional framework under which the municipalities and panchayats have a special chapter added later on into the Constitution of India. Now, when we say municipalities or local bodies, I will refer to them briefly as urban local bodies, but that actually includes, or we can say local bodies. Now, what does local bodies include? It includes panchayati raj institutions. It includes industrial townships, like, you have got the Pithampur area or the Navi Mumbai area in Mumbai, SIDCO, that is City Industrial Development Corporation. We often forget what is the original name. So, City Industrial Development Corporation, or in Gurgaon, I believe there is another one. So, industrial and other townships are also included under the concept of local bodies. Municipal corporations, which are there in the large cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad, and so on. You've got councils which are there in possibly the B class cities. And B class does not mean secondary, it's just that largest, medium, and smallest are divided into A, B, and C category by the government. So B class would be something like, A would be including something like Mumbai, Pune, etc. B class would possibly include places like, if you go to smaller towns like Allahabad, maybe, or not as large as that. So you go to the smaller in Mumbai, in Maharashtra. I know, for example, Sangli, or in Goa, you have got Mapsa, or uh, some of these towns. So those are called councils. The constitution, the real difference is only that the accounting is almost similar, but councils have a different composition, different form of governance. And then there are cantonment boards. So those are townships. Now, townships which come under the defense estates. Why is that? And the recent conflict brought into focus again that certain areas are earmarked and are not part of the state authority over municipal corporations, but go under the Ministry of Defense. Now, why is that? Because some areas are sensitive, like you have got cantonment boards at Srinagar. I don't remember the name. There is a cantonment at Srinagar, one which was subject to attack some time earlier. There is one at Jalandhar, there is one at Amritsar. And there are numerous. So there is one cantonment at Pune, there is a cantonment at Sikandrabad. In all, there are 60 cantonment boards. There used to be 62. Two have been handed over as now no longer critical to the government, and therefore now there are 60 cantonment boards. How many municipal councils, corporations, etc. are there? there are more than 4,000 across the country. So there is a huge potential for work over there. So this is one segment of work because the law under which they operate is slightly different. Then you come to regulatory bodies. Are they required to maintain accounts? Obviously, yes. So what happens? And of course, when I say Government of India, I'll come to that in the next slide. It includes everything that goes under the Government of India or under the state government. We'll come to that. Under this, sometimes there are independent regulatory bodies. The most common that you will remember are SEBI and RBI, which are both regulatory bodies set up under separate acts of parliament. But all the same, they are required to prepare accounts. Some of their funds go to the uh, Consolidated Fund of India. Some of their funds are used for financing their own activities, and so on. Then there are state sponsored, and when I say state, it means state of India, that is government of India, and the state governments. So there are state sponsored programs and projects like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is a project. So you have got state sponsored projects, you have got metro rail projects, and you have got so many other electrification, green energy projects, and so on. Do they require accounting? Obviously, yes. They require some specialized accounting because their capex might go on for a few years, like if you're looking at metro rail, etc. Often they are set up as independent corporations, but that may not happen at the inception. In case of metro rail now, that's a tried and tested model. Or in case of NHAI, they have got certain companies which are set up because that's a known model. But there are other projects which are there in sensitive areas like under the Border Roads Organization. You may have a road linking Kargil and Leh. Now, that may not come under any direct authority. It may be sponsored by the central government itself for its strategic importance. So, there is a road which is being built near Tawang on the India China border in northeast India. So, those are state sponsored projects which may be outside the purview of the specific NHAI or specific ministry. They are in the ministry, but they are separately monitored. Then, of course, public sector units, I need not emphasize. All of you are aware we do audits for PSUs. Many of us are appointed by CNAG. You've got uh, you've got IRCTC and you've got rights, and I will that is Railtel and so many others, Steel Authority of India, ONGC, and so on. And then there are public financial institutions and public sector banks. So, public financial institutions would include something like NABARD or some of the agricultural financing institutions, etc. So, sorry, that FI should have been capital. Public financial institutions, FIs, and public sector banks, which of course we are familiar with because we are often doing the audit of those entities. So, these is the wide gamut that you have. So, don't restrict. Some people feel कि अरे ये क्या गवर्नमेंट अकाउंटिंग म्युनिसिपल अकाउंटिंग में क्या पैसा मिलेगा. आई एम बीइंग वेरी फ्रैंक. Any people have any questions, please keep them for the end. I'll try and keep some time at the end if chairman permits. But there is a wrong perception that there is nothing to be earned and it is extremely difficult and extremely uh, problematic to earn money in this. The answer is that it is not so. There are some precautions that you need to take, which I will certainly mention at the end. Okay, let me move ahead. So I have already given you an outline of what we are talking of. Then yes, so I have not gone into the detail. Perhaps I just omitted in the interest of time when I spoke of Government of India, etc. There are all the entities, so ministries, programs, etc. I think that will come probably. But what is there in traditional areas where we start rendering some services in traditional areas, everybody knows. So, accounting services we can render. So, what is the service that you can render? You can render accounting services, you can render taxation services, you can render financial intermediary. Now you have something like the state finance, the housing development. Various states have put in uh, entities. Like Maharashtra has SECOM, uh, State Industrial Finance Corporation. It is, but I think it is known under the name SECOM. So that Maharashtra state has a 51% stake in that. But there are external investors in that also. And there is, if I remember correctly, there is a US investor who has invested because they see a huge future for such lending. So you have got a role as a finance intermediary. Why is that? Ultimately, it's a question of managing treasury. Can you get finance at a lowest cost possible? So government bonds have a certain rate. You'll see that the government of India bonds may have a rate of 6.75 today. State bonds will have a rate of 7 to 7.5 at present. But if somebody like SECOM or SIDCO were to float a bond, that will probably carry a higher rate. Can you, as chartered accountants, act as financial intermediaries? Answer is certainly yes. Of course, you need to have specialized knowledge for that, but these are possible areas. And then the traditional certification service, which is essential in all these areas. Mangeshji mentioned as chairman, he mentioned that, for example, certain projects are aided by Asian Development Bank or BRICS Bank. When they aid a project, one of their conditions of disbursement is that either quarterly or half yearly you have to give utilization reports. And invariably, those utilization reports have to be not just signed by the person at the utilization agency or implementing agency, but they have to also be certified by a chartered accountant. So that becomes a big area of practice. And the amounts, as you will see, are huge. So if you see the fees, and this is where I feel sometimes sad that our chartered accountants grossly undersell themselves, undersell in the sense that what certificate is dealing with maybe 1,000 crores disbursement, because somebody else is willing to do that work at 6,000 rupees, you will do it at 5,000 rupees. That is without reference to what is the exposure that you're taking, what is the amount of uh, information that you're certifying, what is the information that you're processing. I will deal with this again at the last slide, but please understand that it is not just acquiring work at a cutthroat competition level, but in order to render good service. And believe me, this aspect also I will touch upon later. Today's breed of or batch of IAS officers, revenue officers are extremely intelligent persons who understand the difference between somebody who is just providing a signature service and somebody who is doing good professional work. So if you're doing just rubber stamping, then believe me, your practice will not grow. It is only when your reputation grows that you will get more attention and more attracted by the service seekers themselves. Like I'll give you a simple example. We did the work for, and through the institute, we had been appointed initially in Northwestern Railway project. We did certain work. Subsequently, they came out with a tender which I was not very comfortable with. Again, reasons I will spell out when I come to the end. I refused to fill in the tender. I didn't pick up a form also. When I read the tender conditions, I didn't pick up the form. If you feel that there is lot of corruption, that is what people generally feel, or if you feel that people just want rubber stamping, I can tell you that the railway authorities contacted from Mumbai. There was a project in Mumbai, and I did not take up the tender. They contacted that who are the firms that have done the job successfully in Rajasthan. Then they contacted us. They were trying to persuade my office that you should fill in the tender. I explained to them why we could not. There were certain structural limitations also, that I could execute a project in Rajasthan, but I could not execute it in Bombay. Some other firm in Bombay eventually took it up. But the point is that they were keen that my firm should take up, not because I was known to the person, not because they had any personal connect with me, but because whoever was heading that project valued good services. So this is not to see about what I was doing, but I'm saying that that is the way government is moving nowadays. So don't be under the wrong impression that's a purana घिसा पिटा image that you might have, that government में सब पैसे पर चलता है, it is not like that. There may be, I'm not saying that the world has suddenly reformed and India is totally corruption free. No, it is not. But if you are an upright professional, there are plenty of opportunities. So let me stop over there on that aspect and move forward. What you can also do, so traditional areas, I don't have to explain to you: compliance services, GST returns, income tax compliance returns. And believe me, even municipal bodies have to file tax returns, which they are often not aware. Simplest things that come to mind is TDS returns they have to file. If they get income from outside their jurisdictions, they have to file. For example, Thane Municipal Corporation, which is located right next to Mumbai, and Nasik Municipal Corporation, which is located elsewhere, have got large water bodies. If you have ever come, that means if you see the map, you will see Thane and Nasik are quite a distance away. But they have got water bodies which are used to provide water to the citizens of Mumbai. Now, you may get the water at maybe 30 paise per unit, but they can charge whatever, and the Mumbai Municipal Corporation subsidizes that cost from their other budgetary provisions. So, if Mumbai pays Thane for the water that they are buying in bulk, that income of Thane Municipal Corporation or Nasik Municipal Corporation is not exempt under the Income Tax Act, which very few people are aware of. It is only if Thane Municipal Corporation, where I believe chairman is from, if they render services to its own citizens, then that income, whatever they may earn, say for scavenging services or for some entry tax or some other tax that might be levied or property tax, income earned from its own citizen is like a mutuality income, but it has been granted a specific exemption under the Income Tax Act. But if Thane Municipal Corporation earns from Mumbai Municipal Corporation, that income is not exempt. So income tax return has to be filed. If you go to any municipal corporation, I have faced this situation. They say, "नहीं sir, वो हमारा exempt ही है." Nobody is willing to read the law, but you are professionals. You can read the law, point out to them the section, and tell them ki if you don't do it, and lot of municipal bodies have received notices under the Income Tax Act, read section 10 carefully. You will find out that these incomes are not exempt because the exemption clause is very specific. So, can you render that service? Anybody who's staying in UP, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, uh, Chhattisgarh, who might be listening in, please examine whether your local bodies are actually paying the necessary tax, and you can have an avenue for service of that nature. Then, of course, the second aspect, which I would emphasize, and this is again where we have got enormous capability in opportunity terms, this is a huge thing, that drawing up SOPs, that is standard operating procedures for all these entities, okay, or standard operating procedures for financial controls. One interesting aspect, let me tell you, and this is just an aside, that when you go to meet an official, and I have successfully followed this, and I'm sharing with you a professional secret of mine. When I go to meet a commissioner, for example, or a CEO of a local body, what I indicate to them, that if you do well, if you have good standard operating procedures, if you have got better controls for financial management and so on, who gets the credit for it? You get the credit, because he also has superiors. He has got secretary, urban or home department, urban affairs department, or secretary housing department, or uh, rural housing department, or whoever. He is answerable to that person. If you have lax reporting because you did not put in proper procedures and your subordinates did not do it very well, what happens to you? The IAS officer's confidential report, CR as it is referred to in government language, CR gets adversely affected. He has got revenues like, take, I happened to do Thane Municipal Corporation job ages ago, maybe 20 years back. I had a good fortune to work with a very enlightened commissioner at that point of time. He also realized this aspect, rather, I understood this aspect from him. If there is a negative report in a confidential or negative observation in a CR, whom does it affect? It affects the commissioner. They have thousands of crores of revenue. Suppose he pays you 10 lakh rupees for implementing some good project. Who benefits? You get your 10 lakh rupees or 5 lakh rupees, whatever it may be. But credit goes to him and discredit does not come to him at all. And how much money goes out of his pocket? Zero, because the money goes out of the municipal funds. In fact, central government has got numerous schemes for assisting those or aiding those who are carrying out such reform projects. So they get a special grant. Let's say Thane Municipal Corporation were to embark on certain improvement projects, then they will be given a special grant for doing undertaking such things. So actually, not even Thane Municipal Corporation, but the central budget bears the cost. So the cost is central government, but the discredit, if any, is to the individual. So why would the individual not spend on doing something? The problem is that you need to create. When I was in college, they would say that it is not that an Eskimo does not need a refrigerator. It's only that whether you are creating awareness of the need in the Eskimos, that refrigerator can also serve him good service, a good purpose. So you have to create awareness of the need. Then your demand will follow. That is what the committee which Mangeshji is heading is doing. It is creating awareness at a global or national level, but at the local level, I'm sure, despite all their best efforts, if you are staying in some town in Chhattisgarh or Orissa or somewhere, Mangeshji's committee may not be able to come to every place. I know that they have done programs in Panji and Madgaon in Goa, for example, which is one of the smallest states in the country. And yet there are small Kavalosim, Dabolim, some of them who have got prizes in our last year's presentation, accounting presentation. They are very enlightened corporations. If you see last year's annual report of ICAI, you will find that those people have been awarded prizes. These are very small entities. Can they be rendered services? If there is a person staying at Dabolem or Cabalosem in Goa, can that person render services in the office which is half a kilometer away from his house? Answer is yes, he can. The need has to be created in the sense that awareness of the need has to be done, and then you will have the demand, and then you will have the remuneration. So I'm not getting into sort of telling you about improving reporting and transparency, etc. I've given you the logic that why is it important for a municipal body or for a local body or for a government project. So we have got so many government projects. Why it is important? How can you standardize it? You can standardize reporting formats. You can prescribe procedures. You can write them down. And the good thing about government, let me tell you how I have worked in government. गवर्नमेंट में काम शुरू होना बहुत मुश्किल होता है. इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू मूव अ फाइल इन गवर्नमेंट एंड गेट समथिंग इनिशिएटेड. But files that were created or systems that were created by the Britishers in 1930s and 40s are still in operation in many municipal bodies. Why? Because once something is started, it is never discontinued unless somebody takes the initiative. So if you improve reporting formats, see, many of the reporting formats that were done in India were done in the pre-computerization era. Now that you have got dot matrix, I mean, you have evolved not just from there, you have evolved beyond dot matrix printers also. You have evolved to inkjet printers. 80 column width only is there. Even 132 column of dot matrix is no longer there. Can you reframe the reporting? Answer is certainly yes. Are you capable of it? Answer is yes. Is the person in the local body, including the commissioner, aware that this report can come in certain manner? Answer is no. That is where your demand exists. So, how you can have auto reporting? So, what happens? Reporting by exception. So, if you have got a certain budget that every week I'll probably spend so much on city cleanup activities, so much on repairing, etc. If the expenditure goes below a certain level or if it goes above a certain level, because now all accounts are computerized, the report can be auto generated. You can specify what are the parameters and so on. Even that is a valuable service that you can render, and I'm sure you'll find lots of opportunities to do that. I will again go. I have given two areas. I am giving two more, which I believe are very, very critical. One is accounting and accounting support services. Now, traditionally, our people are fixated upon audit, but I am looking at other than audit. I am looking at services. So, actually, you can help in accrual accounting, which has now been mandated in many states and also by the Niti Aayog, etc. So, many of the larger bodies and many of the states have shifted to accrual based accounting. But the people in the employment of the local bodies are not very aware of what accrual accounting means. That is where you have got potential to come in as consultants. Okay. So that is where you can easily take in accrual accounting transition. But remember, accrual accounting is a big job. It's a large job. I have done that myself, and the fees goes into, for a mid-size municipal body, it goes into lakhs of rupees if you are devising the entire system around it. Please do not think कि it is a matter कि 25,000 30,000 में काम हो जाएगा. It doesn't happen. You will take up the job, you will lose interest, and you will possibly not succeed. More importantly, the municipal bodies will not give you. It's like this, that if you qualify, then tomorrow Infosys and Wipro are not waiting at your door. When you qualified as a CA, no Infosys and no Wipro came to your doorstep ki bhai sahab, you signed our next balance sheet. No, they didn't come. Why? You started with small traders, you possibly started with local businessmen and so on. Or if you are a second generation person also, you might have started with mid-level companies. You have to start small and grow with experience. So I have given the breakup. There is no shame in starting with something like bank reconciliation or starting with fixed asset register, validation, updation. The idea is that your profile must start containing names of local bodies whom you have worked for. Then only you will grow in stature, and then only you will get the larger job of fixed asset, or sorry, the accrual accounting transition process. So I am giving the breakup. So you can do fixed asset register validation, you can do updation, you can do reconciliation. These are all independent items. One more secret which is not published anywhere, please note. Any job which is more than 50,000 requires a tender to be issued as per GSR rules. So if you try for accrual accounting, which will be maybe 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs in a mid-size entity, spreading over 1.5 year to 3 years, depending on the size of operations. Instead, if you take a job of, say, bank reconciliation for 1 year, it may be only 25, 30,000. You don't require to make tenders and so on. You can tell the person, आपके इधर bank reconciliation नहीं है, 25 bank accounts है. Each bank account, if you are given a job, and don't take all the jobs together, take one bank 1 year. So maybe 25,000, timeline of 3 months. Same bank next year, another 25,000, same bank even next year, because the entries will be humongous. And all entries might be like, if you have a housing row house scheme, every plot will have municipal taxes of 3,343 rupees, let us say, per year. So you will have 40 entries supposedly coming in of 3343. But out of that, only 36 entries have come in. So which four are not actually received, or which further three were received but checks bounced, is a big job. So it is not as easy as it looks. It takes time. But even for a reconciliation job of one bank, you might be able to charge something like 25,000. Create that need and awareness, and you will find work opportunities over there. There is plenty of work if you want to do that, and if the CEO or the commissioner wants to do it. But start small. The problem is many of our chartered accountants start with the concept, अरे यार accrual accounting कर रहा हूँ मगर 3 साल से कोई टेंडर ही सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो रहा है. How will it happen? You don't have anything in your biodata saying that you have done anything for a local body. You don't know what are the registers maintained. I often ask in the lectures that I take, and I'm sure most of the 90%, it's not relevant to today's lecture, so I'll not go into detail. But if you want to find out how knowledge of the local environment is essential, do you know that there is something called a scale register? if anybody knows what is a scale register, you can say that yes, you have got good knowledge. And if you don't know it, try to acquire that knowledge. There is a register which is called, I don't know, it's called Firasti register in Maharashtra, which gives certain details about the movement of officials. If you don't know this, you will not be able to improve the system. You need to understand that, and therefore take the smaller jobs. One word of caution, the second last bullet, accounting, data entry, support, and supervision. My firm did it in the beginning. I have found that it is a very dangerous thing to do, because if you become labor contractors, you will be treated as a labor contractor, and you will possibly, people will expect kickbacks. People will not make your payment in time. Aapka article student, if he goes on leave, amounts will be cut. Don't get into that. If you're doing sort of consolidated job of saying that, okay, I will update your bank book, that is okay. But if you say that I will supply three persons for 5 days in a week for 3 months, believe me, you are stepping into a problem. 3 months is okay, but if you are saying 1 year, your article students are going to go on leave, and then the person wants to be vindictive with you, he will say कि 2 महीने के लिए एक ही आदमी आ रहा था, so I'm going to cut. And as it is, you're working on a shoestring budget. So be careful in taking up these assignments. While I'm saying take small, but don't underbid, because it never works out in the long run. And I have seen many people suffer from that. I will again touch upon it at the last stage, in the last slide. The big job, which is not at all attended to by chartered accountants, partly because we have not had a specific syllabus subject. And I would urge, Chairman, that maybe you can have some sort of a course in this specialized area, which very few people are aware of, and very few people are actually uh, engaged in, because there are limited number of firms. When I used to take up the contracts, I have gone out of that area of work nowadays because of my age and other preoccupations. But if you start change management as a special area of consultation, IIM graduates do it, but IIM graduates are not the best persons for change management in accounts. But it's a big job by itself, because the one thing that troubles employees the most is change, and chartered accountants are capable. So I have done, for example, rewriting of entire accounting manuals. Okay. So the old accounting manual was written maybe in 1940s to 60s. After 60, there was no change. So we did the change. For example, Maharashtra government accounting manual was based on the NMAM, which we rewrote. Even that has now been past 12, 15 years, but at least it is there. It is there on the website. It is freely downloadable. You can use that as a roadmap and so on. But accounting manual has to be adjusted for the state of uh, equipment like computers, etc., software that is available. Even the manual that I have written is perhaps now partially outdated, because it is almost 10, 15 years ago. 2012, I got the contract, if I remember correctly, for Maharashtra government accounting manual. It's now 12 years, yeah, 12, 13 years since then. Now, within that, there is a process re-engineering. I'm not going to go into detail about what is process re-engineering, but a simple example I'll tell you that what I insist. At one time, if you raised an indent, these are again things that are done in municipal and large companies. If I want, let's say, hydraulic department wants to have, say, 40 uh, tubes for street lighting. So they need to raise an indent. Once it is raised, somebody will supply street lights, somebody will supply electrical switches, just your simple on-off switches. And there will be large number of such items. Now, on-off switches might be raised by what is called a general administration department in a municipal body or in a project. The street lighting will be issued by the whichever is the civic department, maybe the roads department or whatever. Earlier process was that all bills would go to the person raising the indent, but now you have got computerized control. There is no need for the bill to roam about in the office. यानी वो चार फाइलें इधर उधर घूमती है. We see there was that office serial in which I think Pankaj Kapoor was acting. I don't know whether your generation has seen it, but there they have humorously depicted कि फाइल एक टेबल से दूसरे टेबल 5 फुट मूव होने के लिए कैसा समय लगता है और कितनी मेहनत लगती है. I am not saying that is, but can you re-engineer the process? The person submits it at one place, the bill, and this has been done in Maharashtra in some places. The bill comes to a centralized area, then it gets processed, entered in the computer, and once it is okay, the department is identified who had raised the intent, and that department simply accepts that on the system itself. You don't, because the scanned indent and the scanned bill and the scanned delivery memo, which shows that the necessary quantity and goods have been received, all that can be seen on the system, and then you can simply approve on the system. So file movement ka ye chakkar can be done away with. Can you do that? Answer is yes. More importantly, once you do this, can you do the training and orientation for the accountants? Answer is again yes. It's a very valuable area. I can share with you. I have done, and if you are practicing, whether it is in Bihar or Chhattisgarh or West Bengal or wherever, language, local language is most important, whether it is a municipal body, local body, project like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana or Gram Sadak Yojana, with PMGSY, etc. Because all the local people are employed over there. They don't know English very well. So if you are able to speak to them in Bengali, Odia, etc., your training becomes more appreciated. So what happens is that you can do that because you have got knowledge of the accounts. If your mother tongue is that, and that is what helped me to get my initial assignments in competition with Big Four at Thane Municipal Corporation 20 years ago. Why? Because, with no disrespect to those persons, two big four firms were in competition, and coincidentally, one was a person who spoke Malayali as his mother tongue, the representative. One was a Tamilian who spoke Tamil, and I was the person who spoke in Marathi. And this was at Thane Municipal Corporation, where the decision makers were Shiv Sainiks. So I was able to tell them that I speak Marathi, I read Marathi, that is my mother tongue. So your accounts, even though accounts may be in the system, may be in English, but all the vouchers are written in Marathi. What will a person who speaks Tamil and Malayalam follow? Therefore, I was able to get the job in competition with the Big Four, and that is your scoring point. Do jobs at the local level, do smaller jobs at the local level, and you can then graduate to bigger jobs where you can compete with the best in the country. So you can do training orientation, you can do IT software application training and so on, because all of us as chartered accountants are very well aware of the IT areas. So again, this is a new area that I'm mentioning. Then, of course, the traditional areas of audit, but I always give a statutory warning like a cigarette packet where they say smoking is dangerous for health. Statutory audit, if you see, I've put last. I'm mentioning it first because it comes with a statutory warning for statutory audit. The moment you take up statutory audit, either you have to relax your standards, which is dangerous for you from a professional perspective, or you end up spoiling relations with people. So, therefore, as far as possible, don't start with doing statutory audit. You can do internal audit, you can do certification, that is utilization certificates, you can do special audits like capex expenses, like some of these projects. If you're talking of green energy projects, windmill projects, there is a lot of funds being allocated to that. Can you do certification for that? Again, answer is a strong yes. There, your difficulties are much lesser. Your interaction with the staff increases, the confidence level in you increases, but your interaction helps you to secure later assignments, because you don't want, like if you do a private company, you don't want to do the audit only for 1 year and then say, okay, bye bye, now it's done. You would want that client to continue for 10 years or even more if possible. So similarly, when you're taking the trouble to have accounting or auditing work of a local body or a project or a department of the ministry, what you would like to do is to continue that for a certain period of time. And that will happen only if you are able to establish proper comfort levels with them. I'm not saying by compromising on your approach, But I'm saying that control comfort levels come in through doing work, executing work in a proper manner with all these people, and that is what you need to do. So pre-audit for capex, very big area, especially now many of the aid agencies, which again chairman mentioned earlier, where they are spending large amounts of money, World Bank, ADB, etc., are insisting on certain certification for such projects. Sometimes they say, okay, an IAS officer can certify, but they are much more comfortable if a proper chartered accountant certification is there. Question is whether you are able to see that those are met. Then, of course, there are other issues assisting in transition, because many of the local bodies, like you take some body like Pune or Thane or Mumbai. Mumbai is too large, so I'm not using that as a comparison. But they are also subject to local fund audit. Now, when they are going into accrual accounting, they are themselves not very familiar. So, when CNAG or local fund audit raises some issues in their accounts, they are not able to frame proper replies. So even that can be a smaller assignment that you can take up. And of course, statutory audit you can certainly take up. There is nothing that I need to tell you about. There are other services, there are niche areas, other services. I'll just tell you why. Again, like I told you, that creation of need, or create, I would not say it's creation of need, it is creation of awareness of need. A person may, like everybody washes clothes, okay? So our ancestors have been doing it for the last maybe 30, 40 generations. We wash our clothes. Husband and wife are nowadays working. All that you need to do is to tell the wife that, okay, you need to have, usually our women folk used to do the work. Today, I'm giving a very simplistic example. Today, you need to tell that lady that if you have a washing machine, it makes life so much simpler. So, in all probability, all uh, modern couples will have a washing machine in their house. But they still need to dry the clothes. And in humid conditions like Mumbai, you can then say that, okay, if you have a washing machine, but the clothes take time to dry, where do you have the time? So can you have a dryer attached to it? Answer is yes. So can you create the need for that? Yes. Can you also have a dishwashing machine, which have not yet become popular in India? They are absolutely common abroad. Will there be a need? Answer is again yes. Why are they not yet popular? Because we still use steel thalis, most of us at our homes. Is that changing? Again, the answer is yes. We will start using, यार बर्तन साफ करने का झमेला नहीं होगा, so you will start using dishes. Will the need for dishes be created? Yes. Will the need for the machine to wash dishes, dishwashers, will that be there? Answer is yes. The need has not been created so far, or awareness of the need has not been created. It will happen, and I'm not making a futuristic prediction. It is happening already in the higher income level group. Few years ago, nobody would have imagined washing machine or air conditioning is so common. Today, everybody, even in Juggi Jhopdi, staying in Mumbai, has an AC. You go to Dharavi slums, you will find most of the places you will find a air conditioner sticking out from there. Why? Because the need is there. So, can you prepare need for certain services, prepare the awareness for certain services? Again, answer is that if you are able to show that a busy IAS officer can get the feedback. Now, you saw day before yesterday in Mumbai, there was news that, or Pune, Talegaon, there was a bridge collapse, or in Mumbai, there was something where notices the IAS officer was suspended. The problem is that an IAS officer does not know his jurisdiction also may spread over a large area. Can he have certain things which are coming to him by way of reporting on automatic basis? Answer is yes. Is there a methodology where your WhatsApp, if you are giving a facility for people to put complaints on WhatsApp, can they be sorted by artificial intelligence? Yes. Can they be escalated if they are not attended to within certain period? There are simple softwares available. There can be a benchmark. So there is a benchmark. I'll give you an example. Uh, a service level benchmark which says that, and this software I had seen in Bangalore 20 years back or 15 years back, that if somebody complains about a pothole, you can Complain by logging on to the website and putting a complaint saying that on Mahatma Gandhi Road, so and so place, opposite, say, income tax office, there is a pothole, large pothole, which is causing disruptions and may cause accident. That gets, through a series of questions, the AI will take you to the Civil Works Department, CPWD or PWD, depending on where you are. It gets flagged into the appropriate slot that it is a road repair issue. The timing when it is done is flagged. If it gets attended, the time that is specified by the body is that it will get attended within 48 hours, which is too high in any case, but okay. If it is not attended by 48 hours, a flag goes off at the city engineer's office. It is not attended in, say, 96 hours, a alert will go on the screen of the deputy commissioner's office. Deputy commissioner is outside on tour, nothing happens. After, say, 1 week, a pop-up comes on the screen of the commissioner, because tomorrow if something goes wrong, it is, let's say, God forbid, an accident were to happen, and these sort of accidents are happening every second day in Mumbai. A scooter goes into the ditch, loses balance, a truck coming from behind runs over the person, the poor guy is killed. Who gets blamed? The commissioner. He will in turn hold somebody else responsible, but it goes on to the CR of the commissioner. If, let's say, you are the person running the whole thing, would you want that to happen? Instead, you need to spend a lakh of rupees to engage XYZ chartered accountant to devise some benchmarks, put in a system. Can it be done? Answer is certainly yes. You need to create. Unfortunately, again, I am putting everything to my last slide. Chartered accountants are accustomed to sitting back and saying, जिसको जरूरत है मेरे पास आएगा. I'll translate because everybody may not follow Hindi. That those who want my services will come to me. We are living in a competitive world. Your service providers, do not forget. Your chartered accountants, yes, but your service providers. Renderers of service need to look at areas where services can be rendered. No person who's supplying AC sits at his home and says कि जिसको गरम लगेगा, whoever feels hot, he will come and find me. There are 20 other AC suppliers who are advertising. There are persons who are rendering installation services who are advertising. We can't advertise, but surely you can meet the persons who will need your services. Certainly you can identify such persons, contact them, see if the need exists, and all these services can be built up. The difficulty is we have got an ethical requirement that says that you cannot advertise. It has given the wrong impression that you cannot advertise means you have to sit at home, sit back and say, whoever wants will come to me. The world has changed. Those who invented Meta, or those who founded Meta and Microsoft, etc., didn't say that when the world wants, they will try to find out whether somebody can manufacture a software. No. Windows went out and did the software, and now we are all using it because we know that we need it. So that is how you have to work. Simple things. When I was much younger, if there was a cremation somewhere, it would take 3 days, 4 days for the death certificate to be, even application to be accepted. It would take a week for the death certificate to be received. In today's world, can you integrate that system in a municipal body? I have seen that being done. You go to a municipal crematorium, and crematoriums are only managed by municipal corporations and municipal councils. You pay a fee, you say Mr. XYZ has expired, this is the death certificate. You pay a fee for the cremation or burial or whatever rites you are following. That fee gets picked up, the death certificate number gets picked up, it is loaded onto a data server. So you go next day to the municipal office and say, I want a death certificate. When was the cremation done? Okay, yesterday, 9 p.m. That data is already there. You give the name, you give a separate application, the data is picked up, you get the certificate printed then and there, and the cost is only 2 rupees today. At one time it used to be 20, and that fellow would write by hand and take 7 days to do it. Today, the entire integration of services has happened. I'm talking only of death certificate, whether it is wheel tax, whether it is so many other things. All this integration is possible because somebody thought about it. Question is, are you thinking about it and are you able to sell that concept? Need is there. are you able to sell that concept to the user of services? That is where the real challenge will lie. And I'm sure our people are capable of that. It's only that we have not taken the trouble to venture into it. The niche areas I will not go much into because I presume most of the audience over here are much at the initial stage. So there are outcome budgeting, output budgeting concepts that are there in public finance. Public financial management framework softwares are there, which are in use at the central government area also. But those require specialized training, so I'm not getting into them, and also keeping a track on the time. So I've got about only half an hour, so I'll try to go through some of the slides slightly quickly. Okay, so this is one. Actually, it could have come at the beginning, or I have mentioned that departments, ministries, projects, institutions, schemes, everything comes under that. I have also given the numbers just to give you. There are something like, and my data might be outdated. This I'm talking of 66 major schemes which are there by the government. Major, that means I think uh, at least minimum scheme has got a value of 10,000 crores and above. Only then that scheme is considered a major. And you've got 66 such schemes. PMGSY is something which I have given as an example. A chartered accountant has devised the entire manual for that. He has devised formats for financial statements. So much so that he has even given a management confirmation letter draft format to the PMGSY auditors that you include these points or whatever out of these are relevant. So everything has been done by a CA who has obviously been paid for it by the Maharashtra government. But in Maharashtra, this PMGSY scheme is working with the help. In Maharashtra alone, there are, I believe, 250 chartered accountants who are rendering services to PMGSY scheme, one scheme. There are 66 such schemes in the country. And I'm talking only of Maharashtra. PMGSY is also one of the schemes implemented across the country. So you can see what is the potential. And similarly, in the state governments also you have potential. So I need not emphasize more. I'm giving you just the outlay. Okay. This I have picked up from March 20, that is February 25 budget. The centrally sponsored schemes that I spoke of, 66 plus there are numerous minor schemes. How much is the revenue expenditure that is budgeted for March 26? I'm talking of today, so this expenditure is ongoing today. 59,153 crores and capital expenditure is 30,000, 37,623, leading to a budgetary outlay of 96,000 crores on centrally sponsored schemes. Now, just imagine, this is not including local bodies. This is not including PSUs, PSIs, FIs, and PSBs. This is just centrally sponsored schemes like PMGSY, Awas Yojana, and so on. Then, apart from that, there are public enterprises. I have taken just five, which is giving a outlay, the five major schemes. Which are those? National Capital Regional Planning Board, Housing and Urban Development Corporation, that is HUDCO, Metro and Metro Rail Transportation Projects, NCRT projects, and some hemisphere properties. I don't even know what that means. 95,000 crore rupees is allocated in March 20, that means in February 25, Finance Minister allocated this much. A simple math will tell you that 1,92,000 crores is the outlay in the current 12 months that we are looking at. Will chartered accountant services be required or not required? That's the simple question. Let me also give you something which is not in the slide. That Let me keep the figures before you. What is not in the slide? That in advanced countries where government accounting is very, very advanced, countries like Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, UK, as much as 30 to 40% of the people are employed in such, or sorry, of the professionally qualified. Now, they don't necessarily have CAs because the number of CAs over there is very small. But like we have CAIIB, you know, Indian Institute of Bankers, Certified Accountant of Indian Institute of Bankers. They've got different certification for public bodies, different certification, which is slightly lower. You can say it is something like intermediate CA. They've got all these exams, and 30% of such people are engaged in government entities because, and there, believe me, the role of government in public work is much less. Their budgets are much less because those countries are smaller. And yet, Singapore and New Zealand have 30% of their people who have qualified in these exams working for such local bodies, etc. And in India, the number of chartered accountants in all municipal bodies put together will be less than 2% of our total employment in those entities. So, see the gap. We talk about mutual funds, we talk about FIIs, and we talk about share market, and we say India, or you talk about insurance, you say India has got huge potential. Why? Because insurance industry, the market penetration globally is 30%. In India, it is hardly 6%. You talk about investment in shares, abroad it is so much, India it is so much. Why don't you look at the chartered accountants or qualified persons who are there? If those countries have this much need, is it possible that India is becoming the third largest economy in a few years' time and we will not have a similar trend? It is just not possible. So I'm giving you just an indicator that don't look at the past. Don't look, like, if you say that, okay, uh, some time ago, say some company like Premier Auto and Bombay Dyeing were some of the top shares when I was much, much younger. Today, those shares are not heard of at all. Bombay Dyeing has got converted into a virtually a real estate owning entity. Morarji Gokaldas mills, which were there, that land has all been converted into housing areas and office space. So, businesses change, trends change. Don't look at the past, look to the future. Companies like Meta, etc., did not exist over there, but today they are some of the, or take Zomato, did not exist 10 years ago. Today, it is one of the most successful stocks that are there. So, look to the future. Don't look at the past. Don't say, Arey, aaj tak there were hardly any chartered accountants employed in government. In case you don't know, also let me tell you, IAAS, lot of people over there are also chartered accountants who have qualified the IAAS exam, Indian Audit and Account Service. So we are changing that in a rapid way. So the schemes are going to be very important. I'll not speak much of this because these are all the different schemes that are possible. PMGSY, Narega, Vasundhara project in Maharashtra, deposit works is another area. I deal with this mainly for the courses that I teach, but I don't need to go into that. MP LAD, most of you, MP Local Area Developments Scheme is a scheme that every Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha member has. I think 5 crores non-lapsing grant is given to every member of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha to spend in their constituency. That requires utilization certificate. Institute has got a publication in this regard. I don't think anybody ever reads that, and I think the implementing agencies also don't read it. So going through a bit of uh, quick flipping over because I want to leave enough time for the last part, which I intend to touch upon. Okay, I'm giving some observations from Niti Aayog, etc., which are saying that in today cities accommodate 377 million, that is 31% of our population, but 31% contributes 63% of GDP. And the population in cities is growing. So, what is the corollary to that? Is expenditure on urban bodies is going to keep going up. And that is the trend. I have not gone into this. I am giving a quotation from 1912, 112 years ago, where it was identified by Mr. different Gokhale, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, that we have to look at how the financing of urban structures has to be provided for. But I'll not spend time on that. I've also mentioned that we have got 4,000 plus municipal bodies plus Panchayati Raj institutions. The budget of Mumbai Municipal Corporation or Mumbai, what is that, MCGM, Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, is larger than the budget of states like Chhattisgarh or Jharkhand. Why is it so important? Because They have to have a proper system. And all these places are still operating with a hybrid. Mumbai has partially turned to accrual, but it is mostly hybrid. So, is there scope and is there potential for chartered accountants? According to me, the bottom line which I have put, the question is not is there scope or if it is possible. It is only when and how it is possible. So you need to gear yourself up for that. I'm just giving you the statistics of how it is inevitable. It's like saying that, let's say that green energy consumption or ethanol, let me take a current example. Government is saying that earlier ethanol blending was zero, then it came to 5%, it has come to 20%. What is the consequence of that? The consequence is ethanol manufacturing industries, which use sugarcane and potato, etc., as raw material, have shot up in importance. And ethanol plant manufacturing companies have also increased in importance. If the government were to change the rule to say that either renewable energy or ethanol mixing of 20% is mandatory, this industry will take a boost. So demand will go up. So prices will go up in that sector. Is it something that you need a lot of intelligence to understand and analyze? Answer is no. It is apparent. So if you are anybody with any reasonable understanding of the system, I'm giving the statistics, so many bodies, 1,92,000 crores to be spent in the current year. Today they are not doing it, but will it continue forever? Answer is no, it will have to change. And therefore, your accounting will change. Accounting has been static since the time the British ruled India. In 1930s, they brought in the accounting system for municipal bodies when there were very few. We have now come a long distance. We have gone to NMAM, we have gone to accrual based accounting. It is still not in force fully. But is it going to be used or not? Answer is yes. Even government, which has got a cash-based standard on GASAB, that is government accounting standard, which is cash-based, is also looking at the accrual-based standards. They have not yet identified and concluded that, but they are in talks. The president of ICAI is an automatic member. Our technical director is an invitee to the GASAB, and we are participating in it. So, why I'm mentioning it is that it is just a matter of time. It is not something that is it going to happen? It is already happening. Okay. So, let me take you further. Some aspects I'm not going to go, you understand this, accounting, some other areas. That when we are moving to accrual based accounting, most of the government employees don't understand accrual based accounting. They are not familiar with how notes are to be prepared. Even though it is not mandatory, some of them are moving to it. Entities like Bangalore Mahanagar Palike have already moved to it. Delhi had moved to it, has regressed, but Municipal Corporation of Delhi is likely to come back onto accrual-based accounting in a short time. Again, you can have services rendered in framing accounting policies. These are small pockets that you can actually identify. But you must have an understanding. It's like what our standard prescribes, that knowledge of industry. So if you are being offered, let's say today you receive a call from a pharma exporter that I'm my auditor's term of 10 years is getting over. I'm thinking of engaging your firm. What would be the first thing you would do? You would go to the website if that company has a website, or you would go to related pharma industry companies' websites, understand what are the margins, what is the nature of business, etc. So don't you think that if you want to encash on opportunities in government sector, that you should know about it? And therefore, you must know the basics. You must know government accounting rules. You must know government financial rules. You don't need to learn them by heart. You're not giving an exam, but you need to know where to look in case needed. So therefore, uh, unfortunately, many of our members also don't know this, and therefore they'll end up in a problem because when you go to their office and they refer to something, you are not able to actually meet their requirements. Then other areas I have mentioned where you can render services. So there is a whole bouquet of services that are there. I have given some of them. I'm sure this PPT, I'm sure the secretariat will make it available to you. the accounting policy, the explanation as to what is the difference between expense and disbursement is something that many government officials don't understand. That is why they are very keen. Even in up to 15th April, 20th April, you will receive checks dated 30th of March or 28th of March. Why? Because for them, what is important is disbursement, not because their budget lapses based on cash basis. So their disbursement is important. Booking of expenditure provisions is not. How to get them to change these concepts is again what you will be able to do. You will be able to do so many other things. I have given these, but I need not again spend time because these are things that you are knowing and you will have good awareness of. Okay, let me move further. Uh, See, this is where the change is happening. That in today's environment, the old systems are not there. Today, what everybody requires is analysis, data crunching, analysis. Even the new IAS and other officials who are there, and I'm not talking of the junior level, I'm talking of the senior level. If you attend meetings with them, you will see that they are extremely crisp. I'll give you an example. I happened to meet one of our own members, uh, Piyush Goyal, when he was power minister, that is also some years ago, and we discussed something about fluctuation between green energy and hydel power and thermal power, and we were discussing. And we were at a stage in Delhi. We were, that means, talking post a program on a stage in Delhi, no public this thing. And I was zapped, knowing that Piyush Goyal is a gold medal chartered accountant. uh, I was zapped that he said, "नहीं नहीं जयंत जी ऐसा नहीं है, let me tell you." And on his mobile, he had an app devised by the ministry which showed him up to that minute what is the power generated since yesterday, 24 hours back, and what was the power generated yesterday, what was the power generated last month, and what is the power generated today. That was the state of art equipment that he had. You see Gadkariji's speeches at some places, and he will rattle off figures. Why? Because he has all of them on an app which is devised for him, which is giving him constant updates as to what is happening. He doesn't have to look at it. But the moment he is going, before going on stage, he may just brush up his figures and speak to you, and you hear any of his recorded speeches and he will say, last month we have laid so many thousand kilometers. Out of 32 projects, 60% or more are at 80% completion level. Why is it? Because he has got all that data. Where does that data come from? It comes from financial data. Fundamentally, it is financial and of course some engineering data, but financial data is the core of it. Is the old accounting system की 3 तारीख का आप अभी 15 तारीख को पोस्टिंग कर रहे हैं, will that work? Answer is no. It is all in real time. Are municipal bodies, government bodies investing in it? Answer is yes, because ministers like Gadkari ji and Piyush Goyal ji insist that I want up to date data. At the same time, complexity has increased and accountability has also increased. So these are the first three bullets. Also, it is not just them. The needs of the judiciary, the needs of public, the information groups are also very dominant. So you can't tell them ki after a month I'll give you. Courts are giving as short period as 2 days to get data from your ministries or whatever and present them before the court where public interest litigations are involved. So the so if an official does not implement these sort of reforms, he is going to be in problem. Historical data has lost relevance. Instant data is what we are talking of. And in order to get instant data, you have to have systems that are geared up for that. And who will provide the systems? See, data is all there. Intelligence to understand that data is what is important. And that is where both chartered accountants and to certain extent AI is going to be of help. But again, those of you who understand, AI cannot work without a data lake or a data warehouse and access to various information. But your in-house data, is it structured? Is it in the right sort of data tables? And how are those tables to be structured? A software person can create a structure that you require. But a chartered accountant can say what is the structure required. This is where there is a difference between a software person and a chartered accountant. Because as a chartered accountant, you know what is the data that will be required and how it will be captured and where it will be most efficiently captured. So that is possible only if you are an up to date CA who is capable of doing all of this. So I am again bringing out that don't be guided by the past. Look at the current situation. Try to understand that I grew up in an era where government office meant dusty registers lying. Some of you may not have even seen that, but I would urge you that if you are seeing, some of you, this might be news, the richest municipal body in the entire Southeast Asian group and perhaps the world, I don't know about the world, certainly in Southeast Asia, including Singapore, etc., the richest municipal body is Pimpri-Chinchwad Municipal Corporation outside Pune, which is the uh, into which area also it falls in the Baramati constituency. I need not say more. It is the richest. Why? Because plants of Bajaj Auto, Bajaj Tempo, Telco, ABB, Thermax, all of these plants are located within the jurisdiction of Pimpri-Chinchwad Municipal Corporation. You go to their office and you will find that it is like a multinational office. It is not like Ghisapeta government offices. You go to Panvel Navi Mumbai Navi Mumbai NMMC, Navi Mumbai Municipal Corporation. You see their office building. It is state of the art. Why? Because they have got lot of funds. So the old concept has gone away and there is a lot of use of technology. So there are four areas where I believe that there is a potential for chartered accountants to use. And you create a matrix that who is the best equipped. We are not best equipped for everything. But if you show your client a matrix, let's take these four. Information technology. Who is the best equipped? If I were to give a rank, I would say highest rank 10 marks, second highest 7 marks, third highest 5 marks, and lowest is 2 marks or something like that. Now you put a matrix and you yourself do the numbering. Information technology highest rank will possibly go to the engineer or software specialist. CAs will come in second, so maybe 5 marks. Process re-engineering, you take perhaps the IIM graduate will get the highest marks of say 10 and CA will get 7. In the first one also CA would have got 7. In the second also, rather than, and okay, IIM graduate, maybe engineer second, uh, according to me, CA second, but engineer second, CA third, others maybe fourth. Accounting knowledge, clearly CAs will get 10 out of 10, others will be lower. Financial controls and reporting ability, again CAs will get. So if you take a total of the matrix, who will come out ahead? Chartered accountants. Who is actually doing the consulting work? Many of the large firms, which are basically chartered accountants firms, but are not functioning as CA firms, they are doing no audit and attest functions. They are consulting firms. You will have firms like this US firms, etc., manned entirely by Indians, but those are getting the consultancy works. Why is it? Because we have not made an effort, we have not made inroads. That is where I know the committee is trying very hard. I know Mangeshji personally. He and the entire team led by Simaji is also making a great effort in this direction. The institute itself is making an effort in that direction. But you see the bulk of consultancy assignments where we are the best equipped are going to others. Why is it? There is no point in crying over it. What you need to do is to build your capabilities, which I am happy that you people are doing by attending this lecture. But also, no person who is coming as a faculty can impart knowledge of so much width. What I can only impart you is to sources of knowledge or areas where knowledge is necessary. I can only give you a jhalak. What you need to do is to improve your capabilities by acquiring the basic knowledge. And that's what we are attempting to do. I must compliment the committee for providing a platform, not just to me, but to numerous others who have acquired experience in this area. I have already mentioned about 15 to 20 of CAs. And when I said CAs, I'm talking of CA professionals. But if you add the semi-qualified persons who are similar to inter CAs, then that number goes well beyond 30%. So, is it not apparent that when you are spending 1,92,000 on welfare schemes of this nature or welfare projects of this nature, India will be requiring that sort of support? And therefore, one second. So, what happens is that uh, in this, we will have a role in identifying areas of data to capture, when to capture, what to capture. Because as I said, data tables nowadays, AI can analyze from huge amounts of data. So you give data as to the age of building, tax, area of the building, built up area, etc., a lot of data. And if you were to say that what can be done for improving quality of life or quality of transport and so on, the AI can generate results provided you have got the right data captured, because you will have to have so many fields of data. How many people are living? How much is the average number in a household? What is the average income? Massive data is required. How to capture the correct data economically. You can't send people on a census like survey every second month. That data has to be captured, and it can be captured at the right time if it is properly structured. And then you can do that. I have mentioned preparation of opening balance sheet because the slide was prepared in the context of urban local bodies transitioning to uh, accrual system. But the same is practically applicable. Opening balance sheet will not be applicable, but other things are applicable, whether it is to Railtel or IRCTC or some of the new areas. There are companies that I'm forgetting the name. There are companies which are providing street lighting solutions to municipal bodies and so on. So all of them are incorporated under the Companies Act. So they've got a structure, but they still require information analysis where chartered accountants are playing a role. You could be part of that as a consultant, and then in planning, implementation, and supervision. So these are all the areas that I see that you can be playing a very positive role. I have already mentioned change management. These are areas that our chartered accountants can sort of specialize in, provide a lot of support. I have mentioned change management. I have mentioned training. I have myself done all these areas, training top officials, training account staff in the local language. I have even spoken to the elected councillors, because until there is a buy-in from the top people, you will not progress. So therefore, say for example, today the institute is trying to make a representation as to how other than big 10 firms, Indian firms also can provide consulting services. That process is ongoing. Who needs to be convinced? Not you and me, we are already convinced. Who needs to be convinced are the decision makers. So, similarly, in a local body, it is the elected councillors who need to be convinced. In a company, like I said, in some of the government companies, etc., you have these service oriented companies formed by the government, you've got NGOs formed by the government. Who needs to be convinced is the board of directors. So, can you inform them that these are the areas that you are going to do? And that is where chartered accountants also need to develop soft skills, presentation skills, the ability to digest. One thing I'm mentioning in a slightly, don't take this criticism to heart, but I have seen, unfortunately, that chartered accountants can write lovely reports spreading 20 pages, but if you tell them that write it in two paragraphs or give me 3 slides or 5 slides to present it in, most chartered accountants fail miserably. That is because we are not able to give it in a pre-digested form. And in today's world, believe me, no IRS or IAS officer has time to go through details. If you give them a brief presentation, and that catches their attention, then they will ask you कि ये इसका detail दे दो, वो दे दो. and then you will be able to give more details. But until they ask you, if you have lost your opportunity, because that 20-page report that you give will probably be never read, and therefore your best of advice will never be followed. Therefore, you need to start training people, you need to interact with them, provide them your a jhalak of your ability, and then provide, once they are convinced, you can provide handholding support, you can provide all the other services that I've spoken about. And since these are repetitions, I'll not again get into that. These are some of the other services you can provide: expense analysis, outcome budgeting, borrowing. I gave you the situation of merchant banking. Actually, there are chartered accountants required on the municipal body side, or the municipal or the public sector bodies or scheme side, because another common problem that I have seen is that, for example, take Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. You know that I have got so much flow, that money sits in a fixed deposit for 8 months, because in certain months work is not possible. Say Gram Sadak Yojana, in the monsoon months no work will be done. That money could very well be invested in a better management of treasury, but the persons over there, the account staff, only know fixed deposits. So they will keep it in a bank fixed deposit for 4 months or 6 months, which will earn you 4% or 4.5%. If you were to invest it in permitted government bonds, I'm not talking of private bonds, you invest it in, say, Rural Electrical Corporation, you will get 7.5%. If you got 3,000 crores sitting or 200 crores sitting in an account with a differential of 3%, what is the quantum of fees that the person will be willing to pay for good, sound advice in this regard is enormous. You require CAs on that side, you require CAs on this side. So the need for CAs is very, very critical. But let me come now to the last slide, which I have said is very critical, and I'm going to spend some time, about 10 minutes, on this slide, which is, in my view, very, very important. As I look at it, the government will require 8 to 10 years to develop the sort of understanding that we as chartered accountants have of all the financial parameters. We have spent years understanding this. CA exam is no joke. All of you have qualified. Uh, for government officials, I am not questioning their intelligence, but they are already working. It's like you're trying to pass CA exam while you are already earning full scale in a corporate job. It is difficult for government officials to equip themselves with the necessary skill sets. Is going to take a period of minimum 5 years, probably 10 years or more. In the meanwhile, the economy is not waiting. Modi ji's target of reaching the third position globally is not going to wait until the government officials say कि हाँ अभी मुझे finance sector मालूम हो गया. No, the government is progressing. So what happens? You have a gap which the government is aware of, believe me. That gap has to be met by outsourced professionals. In fact, last year there was a political controversy, but if you see, some of the crucial uh, secretaries have been brought in from outside. You see our persons coming into the Niti Aayog, and you see our persons in the recent past, not necessarily the current, who are all persons who are coming, academicians who came in from outside. So, including the current chief economic advisor, is an academician who was not part of IAS or IRS or anything. He came in from a different world altogether. I don't want to take names, so I'm not mentioning. There were secretary to Ministry of Oil and Gas, etc., who are persons who are into the field of government. That means who are in United Nations, who are in separate economic ministries outside. You take somebody like Shashi Tharoor, who was in United Nations. These are persons who have got global skills. Such persons, I happen to meet some of them, and they are persons who have passed from Harvard and passed from other foreign universities, worked on those projects, and they are now engaged on retainer by the government. The recent CNEG manual also permits engagement of outside professionals. So the role of chartered accountants is, they have not said CAs, they have said any specialist professionals. But in the field of finance, chartered accountants and perhaps IIM graduates are the specialized professionals. In certain areas, economists and IIM graduates are there. In certain areas, chartered accountants are there. But the undeniable fact is that chartered accountants will have a role to play because there is a need gap. It's not because institute is marketing it or somebody else is saying we are not looking for employment opportunities. We are saying that there is a need. We can fulfill the need. That is how we should be doing it. But I'm coming to a big, big but. And this is where I emphasize, and that's why I've kept this uh, in bold and in highlighted, that we have to change our mindset. Our problem has been, and this has been a problem with me also, that when I started off, I was trained for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years as an auditor, finding fault with everything. So wherever there was a fault, I would see it immediately. It became so bad that when I was sent an invitation for a wedding in the family, I looked at the invitation and told my wife and my mother at that time that, Ismay, there are some glaring mistakes. The address mentioned does not say that whether this is the residential address or the address of the venue. And then the address given has disparities, in the sense there it is saying 101 Kamal Nivas, and somewhere it is saying 10 Kamal Nivas. So there are some errors. Finally, after I pointed out 4 or 5 errors in the wedding invitation, my mother asked me that, are you wanting to attend the wedding or are you doing an audit of the invitation card? And I suddenly realized that my training as an auditor was overtaking my role as a relative. My purpose was to attend the wedding. It was a close relative's wedding. My intent could not be changed because my mind had become focused only on finding fault. If you are going to be a consultant, there is no harm in finding fault. But you have to realize that your end all and be all, your ultimate objective is not to find fault, but to be of utility. You must provide a valuable service. Why is a person paying you? An auditor is paid by the shareholders to find fault and to check that there is no fault. A consultant is not paid to find fault. A consultant is paid to find solutions. And if you are content on finding fault, you will never succeed as a consultant. Therefore, you have to change your mindset. Find the faults, find deficiencies, but find solutions to those deficiencies. And until you do that, you will not be successful. So, while I am saying that, all this, part of the reason why IIM graduates are being more successful than chartered accountants is IIM teaches people to find solutions, whereas our course teaches us to focus on finding deficiencies. We have not been taught in our official syllabus to find solutions. We say, auditor hai, if there is some violation of so and so regulation, your fixed asset register is not properly maintained, your audit trail is not proper, I will report. You are not expected to say that, okay, if your audit trail is not maintained, I will help you to do it, because that is not part of the statutory auditor's responsibilities. So our mind is accustomed, galti point out kar diya, my job is done. Now he will find a solution. But a consultant's role is not that. A consultant's role is to find a solution. And I was also